Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Liz. My pronouns are they, them. Our opening hymn is number 168, which is in the gray thick hymnal, One More Step. Please rise in spirit or body and join us in singing number 168.
Call to worship. Ama ergo sum, Latin for I love, therefore I am, by Kathleen Rain. The words are on your screen. Yours is the congregation part in bold. Because I love. The sun pours out its rays from the pure gold, pours out its gold and silver on the sea. Because I love. Because I love. The summer air quivers to the thousand wings. Myriads of jewel-eyes burn in the light. Because I love. There is an invisible way across the sky. Birds travel by that way. The sun and moon and all the stars travel that path by night. And because I love. All night the river flows into my sleep. 10,000 living things are sleeping in my arms, and sleeping wake and flowing are at rest.
Welcome to Is it on? Hi. Oh, there we are. Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Sarah, and I am your service leader for the day. My pronouns are she, hers. If you are with us on the internet, or if you're with us sitting in the chairs around me, welcome. We are one community, united in our commitment to each other and our commitment to live out our principles in the world. Joshua Long is a recent seminary graduate. Congratulations. He is He is also the director of music ensembles at the UU Church of Annapolis. He will share with us, through words and music, some of his journey to becoming a faith-based climate activist and musician. We have activity bags by the welcome table for any of our younger friends who might need something to do during the service. Just make sure to leave them back at the welcome table when the service ends. We also have a nursery for ages kindergarten and under on our lower level. You can bring your kids to the nursery at any time. If you're new to our campus, those who greeted you at the front, Dana, she can help show you the location of the nursery. Thank you for silencing your cell phones, and thank you for honoring safety needs by ensuring exit pathways are kept clear and that children who are not in the nursery remain with a caregiver during service. Masks are optional and supported here. Our services are recorded and are on YouTube, so please stay home if you're sick. This is love in action. This morning, we have a special visitor helping us to light our chalice. Amy Kinley brought Joshua along to our attention, and how they met is a great example of connection. Amy is an Airbnb superhost with a room to share in her own home in Johnson City. A few years ago, Josh booked a stay. Neither knew each other at all. He booked with Amy based on the great ratings, promise of a friendly host, and a smaller travel footprint for the environment. Amy and Josh were one day talking in her kitchen, strangers, taking some time to get to know each other. He mentioned he was a ministry student, but was on his way to a music conference in Nashville. Amy told him she was Unitarian. As Amy describes it, he got a look on his face and said, "You're kidding." She denied joking about it. Then Josh revealed he was Unitarian too. They were both so excited to learn of their connection that each of them posted it to their Facebook pages that day. Perhaps some of you here even remember this post. I do. Amy describes how they spent the rest of that evening at the kitchen table talking about their favorite songs. The best part was when Josh came back through on his way home from Nashville. He wrote her a song and sang it to her. She mentioned how cool it would be if he could speak at her church. And now, we have the pleasure of sharing in that connection too, and learning through Josh's music and words. We will speak our chalice lighting words together. This is our church's vision statement. The words are printed in your order of service. We work together as a church to transform ourselves, our community, and our world by sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder. Thank you, Amy. We welcome you to this brave space where you can bring your authentic self. We are a beloved community made of many origins and many beliefs, sexualities, and genders, and we are made stronger by our diversity. Whether you join online or in the chairs around us, we are stronger because of your presence. We grow, we learn, and we love together. Just as you are welcome here.
My name is Joshua Long. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm really glad to be here worshiping with you today. And I'm trying to get the mic.
It's a little difficult.
Okay. Yeah, so I appreciate, want to thank you, Sarah, for sharing your story, and for Amy for being a wonderful host, and host once again. And what I want to share is this first song. It's called Liberation. And essentially, my seminary journey took me from originally thinking I would be a UU minister and really beginning to wrestle with the climate crisis and what was happening to the environment. And not just what was happening, but watching human beings not care and even do things knowingly that would hurt the environment. And by hurting the environment, that hurts us as well, because I believe that we are a part of the earth, we're not separate from it. And just as our seventh tradition, our seventh principle says that as well, is that we're interconnected with the web of existence. So we're not above it, we're not separate from it. And so that means we have to rethink of how we look at ourselves and our relationship with the earth and what that means to create climate justice. And so I have this idea that this is really a part of liberation, of different theologies like liberation theology, in which we're not just trying to have a, recycle or just keep or save the trees, but it's really about liberating all of humanity, all of creation, all the environment, from all this oppression, from all the ways that we've been, human beings have devastated the environment. And so this song is about reimagining what liberation, what freedom looks like when there is true freedom to live and to breathe and to be who we are. So there's going to be a part for everybody here to sing along with, okay? So this is a participation song, and it's twofold. There'll be some clapping, so you'll get to clap. And then the chorus, I really need help on this. It's going to go, it's just 3 words. You're going to say the word liberation, and you'll say the word true salvation, okay? So I'll say it first, and then you say it, and then I'll say it again, you'll say it. So let's just practice that, okay? So, liberation, liberation, true salvation, true salvation, liberation, liberation, true salvation, 2, 3, true salvation. Great. All right, y'all sound great. It's going to be fun. All right, here we go. And no. All right, now here we go. 1, 2, 3. What does it look like if we all can breathe? What does it look like if we all can succeed? What does it look like with our mouths are fed? What does it look like when we're all safe in bed? Liberation, liberation, true salvation, 3, true salvation, liberation, liberation, true salvation. How does it feel to know we all have hope? What does it feel like and we all can say so? How does it feel to know we are free? How does it feel to let the earth live in? Here we go. Liberation, liberation, true salvation, true salvation, liberation. Stand up for each other's rights. When we're together, we can put up a fight. When will our worship be for love and justice? When can we celebrate all God's children? Here we go. Liberation, true salvation, liberation. True salvation,
Thank you. When there is a fifth Sunday in the month, this church chooses to dedicate the offering to a community need. This month, the donations will be collected for Tri-Pride. Greg Griffey from the Tri-Pride Board will speak about Tri-Pride. When we take the collection at the end of the service, you can earmark your donation for Tri-Pride by using the special envelopes included with your order of service. I don't have an example, but they're the long white ones. Yeah, they look like that. They look like that. There you go. If you write a check, be sure to include Tri-Pride on the byline. If you are submitting a check for your normal pledge, indicate that, please. Thank you.
Well, my name is Greg Griffey. My pronouns are he, him. I'm on the board of directors for Tri-Pride, which is a nonprofit organization that exists to create a stronger and more inclusive community across Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia for LGBTQ plus people and allies. We do this primarily through presenting events throughout the year, with the main event being in September each year, which is a Pride Parade and Festival. We present this festival at each of the 3 cities of the Tri-Cities year by year, so we rotate the cities. This year it will be in Johnson City at Founders Park on September the 23rd. So all donations made to Tri-Pride will go toward the festival and parade. Each year it takes anywhere from somewhere around $60,000 to $70,000 for us to put on this festival. And we do this all by sponsorships and donations. So we work really hard to raise the money. And the board of directors for Tri-Pride is all volunteer. So there's no paid staff. And also Tri-Pride operates, and we're able to do our festival not only with a volunteer board, but with other volunteers in the community. So if you're interested in volunteering, let me know. We can definitely use you for that. Let me see, anything else about Tri-Pride, I should say. I think that's about it. That's the gist of it. So, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me here today. Thank you.
Oh, you are tall. I'm really short. I have to wear high heels specifically for this. I'm sorry. Come to this community with all that you are. Your joys and your concerns are welcome here. We share our moments of joys and sorrows with us through using these candle cards. If you are with us here in person, or by emailing Reverend Tiffany at minister, that's MINISTER, at HVUUC.org, with the words candle card in the subject line. Please make sure to indicate whether or not you would like the card read aloud in the service, which is being broadcast publicly on YouTube. We do have a candle card here today. They would like this to be read aloud, and this is from Brooklyn Wilkerson. They say, just wanted to say thank you to the caring team for the food and cards for my family while I was in the hospital. I am at home and healing again, and thank you so much. If you wish to light your own candle, approach the side of the table that is closest to you, and the closer candle keeper will assist you. Please light the candles at the back of the table first, so that no one has to reach over an open flame. And if you wish for us to light a candle for you, please raise your hand until I acknowledge you, and I ensure a candle is lit for your intention. Our community is so much larger than those who are in the building this morning, so we light a large candle to hold space for those who are not physically present with us, but are ever in our hearts. light a final candle for all that remains unspoken in our hearts and minds. Our reading this morning is an excerpt from the book Saving Us by climate scientist, author, and speaker, Katharine Hayhoe. So how do we move beyond fear or shame? By acting from love, I believe. Love starts with speaking truth, making people fully aware of the risks and choices they face in a manner that is relevant and practical to them. But it also offers compassion, understanding, and acceptance, the opposite of guilt and shame. Love bolsters our courage too. What will we not do for those and that we love? And finally, it opens the door to that most ephemeral and sought after of emotions, hope.
Well, I feel like the sound of the rain is appropriate for today's topic, as we can hear it on the rooftops. But again, my name is Joshua Long, he, him, and I'm really glad to be here today. And a little bit, just as you heard the song about liberation and how it all fits together as a climate activist and doing music. For graduating from seminary, I did a specialization in public theology. And I decided, instead of doing a thesis, research paper, I decided to make a musical thesis in which I wrote and recorded about 8 songs that combines worship, faith, and climate justice and climate change all together. And actually my trip out here this time was finishing recording that in Nashville. So I'm kind of headed on my way back from that. So we just finished the album. Album comes out September 22nd. Super excited about it. But I say that because it's gonna come full circle about why that's so important to me, that there is music around this and music that's faith-based about this. But yeah, the reading that we just heard is world-renowned climate scientist, author and speaker Katharine Hayhoe. She is also a Christian who lives in Texas with her family. She teaches people how to talk about climate change through our values rather than facts or politics. And I have to agree, we need to approach the climate crisis with a sense of urgency and responsibility, but we must do it with love, with justice, and cultivate hope while we do it. Many people, especially our youth, young people, feel they are growing up in a dying world, that they have no future. But I'm here to tell you that that is not true, that there truly is hope. But it's a choice. We can choose doomerism, or we can choose faith. We can choose despair or hope. We can choose climate justice over climate devastation. So today I want to share a little bit about my journey, how I found my passion for this issue, and then I'll share an ancient story that will help us move into a place of action. That whether you are curious about climate change, or if you are an expert, science expert, I believe there's something in this for you in this sermon. If you're wondering what can we do that can actually make an impact or difference, I will talk about that as well. And if you're on the fence or not sure about it, or skeptical or have questions, this sermon is not going to try and prove that climate change is real. That's not what we're doing here. There's plenty of science, there's plenty to read out there. But I just invite you to have an open mind, and that think about this, that sometimes denying things or our fears are a sign of how deeply we care about something, especially this planet, especially people, especially our home. So just consider that our fears are what make us human. Our feelings are what make us a person, that we have love, we have compassion for our world. Now, I did not grow up UU. I didn't grow up as a progressive Christian. I was raised in a very conservative evangelical denomination. And so I always had a love for the outdoors and nature. Climate change or just environmentalism in general was never on my radar. And I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. I was not surrounded by Appalachia Mountains and its beauty. So there was a park that we traveled to sometimes, which I love to go to, but definitely not as hilly as this out here. But yeah, that's how I grew up. It wasn't on my radar, And so when I went to college, I went to University of Arts and studying music. Being in art school, open your mind up a little bit, see new things. And I became aware how important social justice really is. But it didn't extend to the environment. And I heard about global warming, in passing, and people would say it's really warm in January. It must be global warming. And I was like, huh? And so just not on my radar at all. It was just something that leave it to the conservationists, the ones who tree huggers, if you will. But then President Obama entered the United States in the Paris Climate Agreement. And that was a wake-up call. It was that maybe this is more serious than people were letting on. I started to learn more and more, and I remember I used to teach music lessons. I was sitting in a music studio and just became really aware of climate change and was reading some blog and was having an existential crisis while trying to show someone an A chord and just, they didn't realize what was going on, just trying to save face. But it was really scary. It was sort of like, this can't be happening. But it turns out that this was the situation. So in 2017, I started my seminary journey. I went part-time to seminary so I could still work. I was working at the UU Church. And I had to do an essay that asked, what is the most pressing social justice issue of our time? And from on high, I knew it was climate change. There is no issue that is greater, because without a livable planet, then it doesn't matter what other issues that we solve. And then every injustice becomes worse due to climate change. Poverty will increase. Wars, racism, homophobia, the ways we make someone into an other, they increase because people become desperate and scared. And tribalism becomes more and more. But as we know, climate change is here now. We've had multiple days of bad air quality and floods kind of all over the world, historic floods in Vermont, Malawi, India. All 100-year floods, and now we're about to have what may be the hottest year on record. Hottest month, July. So we must face this reality here on, but I don't mean to scare you. I just want to tell you the truth, and that say it's not too late to act. But we must act with love and compassion. Not fear, not guilt, not shame. We all are at different points when it comes to our relationship with nature. Some of us have been taught that nature is scary. Maybe not out here, but from where I'm from, out of the city. Did someone say there are bears? There are bears out there. But we're all in different parts of environmentalism. It might be nature is scary, or when it comes to we need to electrify, well, I can't afford an electric car or solar panels, But that's not a reason for us to feel shame. Nor if we are privileged enough to make these purchases and transitions, we should not look down on anybody. We can't shame those who work in fossil fuel or coal. They are just doing their job and supporting their families. My family is originally from Big Stone Gap, Virginia, an hour north here. My great-grandfather was a coal miner all his life. He did his job and supported 13 kids. He is not to blame for this situation that we're in. But then who is to blame? See, it's easy to just want to find some group. to say it's those people, and that's very dangerous. But unfortunately, it's more complicated. It's systemic. We didn't do this to ourselves. Fossil fuel corporations knew about climate change in the 70s. But instead of making changes and making a logical switch to renewables over time, they buckled down and launched one of the greatest propaganda campaigns in human history. They placed the responsibility on the consumer, telling us to reduce, reuse, and recycle. And that's not bad. We should do those things. But the problem was that these companies were telling us to do these things like recycle while extracting tons of oil and gas from the earth, racking up billions of dollars. Even as we're witnessing more fires and weather events, there's still record profits. They aligned themselves with politicians and religious leaders in order to convince the public that either global warming was our fault or that it didn't exist at all. And that is why we can't respond to the climate crisis with hate, anger, and retribution. Because even the richest of the rich are human beings. They're swept up under a system of oppression as well that beholdens them to enact harm on the planet and other people. So instead, we as Unitarian Universalists, we can move with compassion. We can act with courage, fighting for the environment and for the most vulnerable who have been hurt by environmental injustices, including people of color. Those of us who are trying to just make it day by day, paycheck by paycheck. And even those who work for oil, gas, and coal and other fossil fuel industries. I want to share an ancient story. It's from the Hebrew scriptures in the book of Daniel. In the church I used to play at, we call it the three Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. It's an incredible story about standing up to empire and having faith even when it's hard and everything is on the line. And I want to share it real quick because I think that's a very important line, a lesson about injustice in community. So entertain us for a minute. And one of the things I always like to say when sharing a Bible story is that when you take away you might have been told to think about the Bible as literal or God's actual word, but when you take away that kind of pressure and just read it as a story, it becomes actually more amazing and it opens itself up to something that we can actually learn from rather than pressure people into doing terrible things. So just want to preface that. This story is seated in Babylon during the Babylonian Empire. The three Hebrew boys and Daniel are Jews who are exiled to Babylon as a result of the Babylonian conquest of Judea. King Nebuchadnezzar builds a giant golden statue. And he makes a law that says you have to worship this golden statue or you'll be thrown into a fiery furnace. And the three Hebrew boys refused. They were committed to their faith. So backstory, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in an earlier chapter actually had already known the king and had gotten the king's approval and were actually elevated in his court. He had already trusted them. So when King Nebuchadnezzar hears that they're not following his law, he's actually not just upset, he's hurt because he feels like I lifted you guys up. However, the story goes on, he heated the furnace up so hot that his guards were killed as they threw these boys in the furnace. And a miracle takes place. The three boys are not touched at all. They're not dead, they're not burning, not a hair is touched, and there's a fourth who is walking among them. So the king pulls them out, he sees a miracle, and then he exalts their God, Yahweh, the Jewish God, and he promotes them to even better position of leadership in the province. Now, why is this story so fascinating? For me, I think about who is walking with us in the fire. As a planet is burning because of empire, because of laws that ask us to worship the golden images of fossil fuels, of technology, and turn a blind eye to systems of oppression. These laws that have us, well, our modern Western world is convenient. Many around the world lack. Many of us right here at home lack. But within that, what's fascinating, I ask the question, who is walking with us? That fourth person represents the help that comes from outside of us. It is the spirit that's created by a beloved community such as this. Some people call it God, some call it love, the divine or collective human spirit, the spark that runs through all of us. That fourth person. Without it, we will all fall away when times get rough. And it feels hard every day. So we need community. We need that love. We need each other. We need that thing that is bigger than ourselves. And for me, I found this spark through community. I found it through what I call God. I've also found it through music. Without arts, we would not have the ability to express our grief and frustration. More importantly, it would be hard to imagine a world that is sustainable. That's why we need to support our actors and writers, our musicians and poets. So they see the world as infinitely possible. That it doesn't have to be the way that it is, that something better can be birthed. Art is not a waste of time. Art gets to the core of our sacred humanity and then shows us how the impossible can be made a reality. So however you find that spark, however you enter into the sacred, my hope is that it opens up a door to hope. Real hope, not blind optimism, not just a good feeling, but real hope that is active. But at times, hope is hard. Catherine Hale, in her book, she talks about how hope is something you practice. For her, it's practicing love by encouraging others. That's where she's finding hope. I took a class in seminary called Preaching Hope. And my professor, Dr. Veronice Miles, she wrote a book called Embodied Hope. And she says hope is our actions that cut through our culture of despair. That believes that it can be done. It breaks the status quo. I've heard many times again that we can't switch to a clean energy economy in 10 to 20 years. That it needs to be a gradual shift. But we heard that before when the question of abolitionism and slavery hundreds of years ago, there was the argument that we should have a gradual emancipation rather than just freeing slaves because that would ruin the economy. We've heard that today as well with climate. They'll just ruin the economy. But the suffering of millions of people does not warrant a gradual response, but a swift and just and immediate transition. The devastation of the planet does not warrant slow and gradual, but a fast move to a sustainable world that works for all creation. There's no one behind, that does not have sacrifice zones, does not sacrifice black and brown bodies into whole ecosystems, Because the truth is we're all interconnected. And if one of us is harmed, then all of us is harmed. If none of us are free, till all of us are free. So what can we do? Well, as I said, true hope comes through action. I have 5 things listed today that are concrete actions that you can take. And mind you, I'll preface that many of us want to know the one action that will save the world, but that's not how it works. It's our smaller actions collectively together that make a difference. So the first one is talk about it. Talk about climate change. Make it a part of everyday life. It's really hot outside. Oh my goodness. It's the hottest July on record. That's due to climate change. Make it part of it's just life, right? It's just where we are in the world. Secondly, spend time in nature. Take time to go up a mountain, go to a lake. Or if you're in Maryland, come to Ocean City, go to the beach. Actually, well, I was gonna say go to Florida beaches, but they're really hot and they got a whole bunch of issues down there, so. No hate to Florida. Third, electrify at home. And what I mean by this is not just get solar, but find out where your energy is coming from. Anywhere from an energy audit all the way to transitioning to where our energy sources are, to solar, to electric vehicles. Those are all things that you can do. The organization that I work for is called Interfaith Power and Light. I'm the congregational organizer up in Maryland, DC, and Northern Virginia, but there are 40 chapters all over the state, so all over the United States. So get to know your local Interfaith Power and Light. That is something that working with congregations as well as advocacy, talking about climate as well as the electrification part of things. And fourth, find others who care just as much as you do. That's really important because it can feel very lonely if we don't know others care. So find others, that will sustain us. And once you find those others, organize for change. You have to find the local policies that will help create a more sustainable world that are in your area. And not just, it involves politics, local politics, but it also involves anything from just how are you in your age, if you have a homeowners association, can you plant native plants? Things like that. Where utility companies are pulling things from. So there's all different ways to get involved, and it's not about doing all the things, it's about finding whatever way where we are at right now. You start right where you are. I have found so much hope in taking action. Not by myself, but by joining others in this movement. You don't need to work as an environmentalist full-time, you just have to start right where you are, as I said. But we cannot give into cynicism or hopelessness. People for centuries, especially BIPOC communities, have faced existential threats on Native communities. And they've made a way out of no way. So we can rise together as people of faith, believing in the human spirit, that there is no greater love than our love together that will save our planet. We're not just trying to conserve and preserve. We want to create a just, sustainable, and equitable world that works for the entire web of existence, which we are a part of. So may it be so. Amen.
Thank you. As we extinguish this flame, we dare to hope for a better future. We challenge ourselves to take steps to create that future using the tools of faith, reason, music, and community. We thank you for being with us today. Just a few announcements before we close out our service. Kids and youth are invited to bring their backpacks or notebooks next week to be blessed during a backpack blessing on Sunday, August 6th. This is our way of sending our support to our kids as the school year begins. Homeschool kids are encouraged to bring a notebook or pencil box if they don't have a backpack. And teachers are also invited too. Next week, August 6th, please bring gently used or new kitchen items. There will be a designated spot in the Fred Ballroom. And on August 13th, we'll be having a swap meet. You'll get to clean out what you aren't using, and you might find something you actually need. We are also still looking for RE teachers for the fall. An orientation will be starting mid-August, so if you're interested, please contact our Director of Religious Education, Justin Ridley, as soon as you can. But please wait till after the closing hymn. Don't go rushing up right now. Thank you to Sue and Frank, our volunteers who are making coffee hour after service possible today. Whether this is your 1000th Sunday or you actually never kept track, please take a minute during coffee hour to greet a new face or someone you don't actually know well. This is our welcome in action. Visit our website, hvууc.org, to find out about all other news, events, or opportunities for fellowship, or if you need more details on what I've just said.
Our closing hymn music will be performed by Josh. It is his own song, Hope in Us, after which he'll offer a benediction to close out the service. This is when we will pass the offering plate as well. This is when you can put your social justice convictions into practice by donating to Tri-Pride, helping to build each other up in our greater community, and make a positive impact. Again, if you're making a pledge payment, please mark it as such. For donations for Tri-Pride, use the provided envelope. Thank you so much for your contributions.
Okay, so this song is called Hope in Us. It's really, I wanted to write a song that didn't just place hope in, a higher being or in some other large force, but to recognize that the hope is here. It's in all of us, that there's already hope. We just have to tap into it. So it's called Hope in Us. Thank you for your patience. I know that it's not easy to think we will survive. It seems that we're lost here with no clear way out. If we work together, we'll swim through the drought. Disasters and fires we can't waste alone. Remember that this is our home. When the storms of life drown you out, your faith is low, you're full of doubt. See the children play, 'cause there is hope in us. When the winds of change will burn your fields, disasters in your life won't heal. Remember that there is hope in us. And see every person for themselves. They say that we're on the sick, dying hill, trashing our problems like plastic don't kill. But every living creature calls this place home. Remember, you're not alone. When the storms of life drown you out, your faith is low, you're full of doubt. See the children play, 'cause there is hope in us. Where Where the winds of change burn your feet, disasters in your life won't heal. Remember that there is hope in us. Sick, dying hill, trashing our problems like plastic don't kill. Every living creature calls this place home. Remember, you're not alone. When the storms of life drown you out, your faith is low, full of doubt. The children play, 'cause there is hope in us. When the winds of change burn your feet, disasters in your life won't heal. Remember that. Hope in us. We find hope through action, hope through compassion, hope through love, and hope in us. Go in peace.